Thanks for the introduction. Definitely, that's me 20 years ago, not now. I look quite different from what I used to be. To give an insight in terms of who I am, yes, as you mentioned, I'm the founder of Travelwings.com. We are a Middle Eastern, African-based online travel company, incepted as a startup a couple of years ago, and we've been expanding into multiple countries, especially within the African continent. So to speak of Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, a lot of other countries there. So let me just, I think this is the one. So yes, it's about us. Here I'm not going to talk about statistics, I'm not going to talk about trends, because we had a lot of fellow members who spoke a lot about how to engage, what are the statistics happening on multiple different storefronts of communication and engagement. So here all I'm just going to talk about is the pain points that we had, how did we engage with WebEngage, and how have we been progressing as a business, and probably all of you also embrace the same path of taking it forward. Now this is a question that I'd like to ask all of you. We define success for the online travel space, or the online e-commerce space per se. How do you define success? What are the different parameters that you should keep in mind when you really develop an online e-commerce business, a retail store, or an online travel store, a fintech store, or whatsoever? Can I hear some answers?
Break even?
Sorry?
Break even period?
Break even. That's a long way forward. Now, so for example, what I'm asking is, what are the different key points that we should focus in the business? We should be focusing on technology, focusing on people, usability, those kind of things. Customer service. Absolutely, experience in customer service. So, I'm just coming back to this. So, this is exactly what we all focus upon, and it's perfectly right. We speak about technology, we have to be a tech-driven company. Yes, we speak about our product, we have to focus a lot in terms of what our product is. Usability, as you mentioned. Customer service, as you mentioned. Competitive pricing, that's one part of it, but I'll just come to that at the end. Personalization, we were speaking about personalization and engagement today throughout the whole sessions. Distribution of how do you distribute a content through multiple storefronts. Forms of payments, we actually had this point as well earlier in the day, in the morning, where multiple forms of payments, localizing in multiple markets are quite important. How do you position your brand, and what is your marketing strategy? But there's something that I want to highlight here. Yes, all this is perfectly fine. It's important, but it's about the way we do it. It's about the way we engage. It's about the way we position ourselves. Today, as a business, if you're basically focusing with all these beautiful things that we're talking about, of how to engage with customers, how do you dynamically give relevant content to customers, so on and so forth. But if you really focus all those, if you just completely focus that on your price points, saying that your differentiator is going to be your price, let me put it this way, you're never going to make money. And it's not sustainable. You might be engaging with your customers, you might be giving them relevant content, and the customer comes back to you saying, hey, he's giving me a good price. But that's not it. I think if I just take a step back and look at all of us here today, or probably many countries in the world, how many of us have an iPhone or an Android or a Huawei, those high-end phones? They're expensive, isn't it? How many of us have the low-end phones which have similar functionalities of the high-end, of those high-end phones? So what I'm trying to make you understand is how this world has been made, and as I said, I'm not talking about statistics, I'm just talking about actual human behavior. It's all about conviction, it's all about an experience. So one thing that we take all this together and we focus upon as a business, as an e-commerce business, which we are trying to do, is actually emotions. At the end of the day, if a customer is really happy, he's smiling and he's saying, fine, I've got something that I want, it can be relevance, it can be touching him emotionally, whatsoever, it's all about emotions. If you tap that in the right way, I think you've actually gained your customer. And to basically have that big objective, yes, engagement comes across the whole place. You're talking about relevance and timing. Quite important, right? So if you talk about real life, if you have a girlfriend basically just blowing her hair and then you go and propose her at that point in time, say, not this time. It's all about the right timing. It's all about relevance. So when we started Travelwings.com, we started very small. We had a lean technology, which was not scalable. We revamped the whole thing early this year in March. We launched Travelwings.com, and then the next challenge that we had is how to get that emotions out to customers. So some things that we did on our website, I'll be sharing that experience with you. Today, if you ask me which is the most boring page on your passenger, in your entire travel funnel, all of you book transactions online, isn't it? Travel. Which would be the most boring page? Passport details, name, telephone number, and everything. Right? So what we did, we tried it. It's working out well. Customers have started embracing it pretty well. What we did was, on the usability side of things, we thought, fine, when a customer is selecting his travel, he's already getting into the mood that he wants to go somewhere. Let me give him a tip saying that, fine, I'm flying with me, my wife, and my children. Once I come to the passenger information page, with his permission, we log into social media. Of course, he just logs in through social media. And then, of course, Facebook and all these social medias have their family trees, right? So basically, we're able to capture data in terms of who this person is. And all he does, when it comes to the page like that, well, that's my family, actually. So the moment I click on my family, everything is filled. So we've been trying to create a benchmark in terms of how a customer journey should go through. And that's only because of the fact that it's about emotions. It's about how you make him smile. How do you make him smile throughout the journey instead of keeping his intellectual mind always keeping on the budgets of price and price and price. Because if you again take thousands and thousands of years ago, or probably when the concept of supermarket started, you come with 20 things in your list item, but you end up buying 20. You have 10 in your list and you end up buying 20. Why is that? It's because your senses, your 6 senses are engaged in terms of feel and touch and watch, where it takes over emotionally to take you to the next level saying, let me forget my list, let me buy what I want. So that's one part of usability, right? But the second part of the challenge that we had is when the customer comes to my shop. And this is the biggest challenge that we have, and that's been, we are slowly getting out of it with the partnership with WebEngage. So today if you come to a store, how many of you would be happy you just get into a store and nobody even attends to you? You walk into a electronics store and nobody even comes and attends to you. You have a lot of questions, nobody's there. You just walk up. That's real life, isn't it? That's exactly the same thing what happens online as well. So somebody is coming into your store is not physical, it's virtual. So how are you making sure that you understand what the customer journey is? And that was a big problem for us. Especially in the UAE, it was a bigger problem because I think even at the conference where they had the panel, which you're talking about, they did mention about UAE specifically, which has multiple demographics. A person who sees white thinks it's red because one person who is probably a Filipino national thinks it differently from an Arab national versus an Indian versus an African versus a Western expat or a UAE national. So that was the biggest challenge that we had, and we had discussions with WebEngage saying, guys, we have this problem. We do not want to bombard customers because today what is happening, before we started integrating, because that was the first integration we did after we launched a new platform, we were not giving relevant content on our website. That was the actual truth. 7 months ago, we were not giving relevant content on our website. We were always posting things from the times because we did not know, we took a general approach saying that this is what the click rates and the open rates are, so let us send our campaigns at this point in time. Let us post everything on social media at this point in time. But it wasn't very effective, right? And at the end of the day, when we realized and when we did researches of getting feedback from customers, as somebody said during the whole process, that you have to communicate with your customers and understand what are they really feeling. Honestly, he was emotionless. He was just blunt. He did not have a smile, he didn't have a friend, but he said, okay, fine, what a big deal. You're just sending me something, that's about it. Now, if we go in that approach, we would not be able to really gain what we want to gain as a business, or get a customer closer to us as a business. How do we connect emotionally with the customer? So that was our thought process in terms of when we wanted to engage with WebEngage. So with that being said, yes, the last bit which I forgot, the money goes down the drain. What are we going to spend? because you don't get your ROI, right? We connected with WebEngage, we discussed the company stories, and the process was they had a beautiful onboarding team who were quite patient to listen what I had to say. They didn't throw me off the shelf, thank God. But the one thing that we wanted to do, which was also a challenge, is that, so let me give a use case here, right? I'm a customer, I'm searching, say, from Dubai to London on the 29th of August. I've come to the results page. Now, the system understands that fine, I'm a person now who wants to go Dubai to London. That's about it. So they have that. On the filters, I click on non-stop flights. That's my next step within the browsing channel. Once I click on non-stop flight, again we understand that fine, he's a guy who wants to go to London and he's interested probably in non-stop or direct flights. Then the next part of it is he looks at timings with a specific time zone. So what we were trying to do is we're trying to connect all these data points with them. It took some time to create that whole event because what normally they were doing was, and that's one thing I would like to talk about WebEngage, and I'm quite happy with what they did, is that creating a dynamic URL with multiple permutations and combinations was a bit of a challenge. You can have an ID of a product and you can tag it in and you have a simple straightforward structure, but you also have multiple different segmentations where a customer can fly going in economy class, coming back in business. It can be 2 adults, 1 child, going in a specific time, going in a specific airline, I'm just giving about the travel business because that's what I know about, right? So there are multiple sort of permutations and combinations through which we had to create dynamic URL structures. And I'm glad that they were able to crack that for us. They did it. So today what happens with us, through these user journeys that we created, based on what click the customer does, even on a results page, which is completely dynamic, unlike a retail store where you have multiple IDs of what you really select, they were able to create a user journey in terms of what this customer comes into a category, and based on which we were able to retarget them. And that really worked very well. We were able to see customers who really went out of our websites, who came back, but imagine, let's put it this way, he has not gone to the passenger information page, he has come to the results page and he closes the browser and he goes. Now in the results page you have all direct flights, indirect flights, everything all together. It's a mix, it's an amalgamation of the whole thing. But next time when he clicks on the link, he only looks at direct flights as a results page. That's more appealing for him. So what I'm trying to say is that when you have methods which is done with them before, where you basically come to the passenger information page, you click on it, continue booking and click and continue and fulfill, that's fine, that's there. But with them we did something even better, that it's not just about the checkout page, it's also about multiple different touch points on any part of the website. We've been able to get exactly what the customers are looking for. Yes, after we did that, we started monitoring stuff. This is not the actual data, I don't want to put them there. They just took up another mock-up, honestly. We analyzed them, we understood them, and we are now further working together with them to basically work on multiple time zones of customers, because we have another big problem. The problem is that we are across multiple countries of completely different personas, especially the African cluster. It's completely different. The language we use to basically revert back to them is different. So we're working on that, and that's been going quite successfully in terms of an integration, where we talk about an UAE persona on a holistical level, again bifurcated by multiple different demographics. That's one segment of language of what we're using. When it comes to the African cluster, what kind of language that we use, because there are certain words that you say, it's normal, whereas if you say that in Dubai, you will get a slap on your face. That's how they greet people, right? So the language, the tone, and everything is quite different. We've been working on all those aspects, and today I must say we have reached 60% of what we want to do. It's been an ongoing process, and I'm thankful that this company with their team members have really helped us to really help us go towards our dream. We haven't reached it. It's a never-ending process, right? But we know that we're actually going in the right direction. And that's all I wanted to speak about today. Thank you.